Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome to the RC Retro channel. Well, I finally got around to building my KYOSHO Ferrari Testarossa, which you just saw some video highlights of. It was not overly complicated. It's kind of on the easy side. It's based on the KYOSHO Ultima 2 chassis. This came out in the early 90s. KYOSHO put out a whole bunch of kits based on supercars from the late 80s and early 90s and had a lot of success. They put out a Lamborghini Diablo, a Lamborghini Countach, the Ferrari F40, a Nissan 300ZX, a Corvette ZR1, and there were a few more. Just couldn't remember all of them. But a lot of success, and not all of them were based on the Ultima 2 chassis. Some of them, such as the Ferrari F40, were based on the Optima Mid chassis, four-wheel drive, and there was even another one, I'm not going to call it an oddball, but it was definitely not like the Optima Mid or the Ultima 2 chassis. It was very strange looking. I'll post some pictures up. And that was like the Jaguar prototype, and the Lamborghini Diablo came on that. So I'm sure I missed a few, and I'm sure in the comments you'll let me know that. But hey, like I said, I couldn't remember all of them off the top of my head at this very moment. But very successful, and over 30 years later, KYOSHO is still following down that path with their Phaser line, paying homage to vintage muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. The Camaro, the El Camino, the Chevelle, the Charger, the Challenger, which I think is great. And every single time they come out with a new one, I'm always like, that's sick and I want it. And then I just never pre-order it or order them. The last one, the Pontiac GTO, I was like, that is amazing. I want that. Never got it. But just recently, a couple weeks ago, KYOSHO put out the 1957 Chevy Bel Air, which I think is absolutely stunning. I love the turquoise blue on it, all the chrome detailing, the fins in the rear. They paid special attention to the wheels and the tires. Absolutely amazing. It's not out yet. You can pre-order it, and I'm going to pre-order it. At least I say I'm going to pre-order it. Well, hopefully we do. Anyways, let's get back to the main point of this video, which is the Ferrari Testarossa. I just wanted to share some of the things I really liked, and a couple of the things that I'm not going to say I didn't like, but were a little bit challenging, even though this is more on the easy side to build. First off, no tie rods. Just simple plastic pieces back here, so that really speeds up the process. Another thing that I liked was when I was putting the shocks together, it has these little 4 nubs that stick out on the shock body. So when you slide your shock collar up, it just stops at a certain point. You don't have to worry about your shocks being uneven or over tightening the screw on the shock collar and stripping it and the shock collar sliding up and down. That's a little nice touch right there. Something that was a challenge for this kit. Not that it was overly hard to put together, because it's not, but you got to remember this kit is over 30 years old, and with that, a couple issues arise. First, before I get to that, the manual you see right over here, well, completely in another language, not in English. So luckily I built a few kits and I can go by pictures, but sometimes things are written that you need to pay attention to, like little warnings or reminders. And so if you're not familiar with putting together RC car kits, well, that can kind of mess you up a little bit. Also, when I opened up this screw bag number 2, which has a majority of your hardware in there, a lot of the black screws were oxidized and had this white crystallization powder on them. Also, some of the nuts and bolts were rusted. Luckily enough, there was a seller on eBay selling the same bag, bag number 2, but for the slant nose Porsche, which is based on the same Ultima 2 chassis, has the same hardware. So I purchased that and was able to replace the nuts on here and the screws. Also 30 years old, well, your plastics on here are a little brittle, and I noticed when I started to screw in the ball ends for the steering, those little linkages snapped. So I had to then use Tamiya ones. The only problem is the ball ends on the KYOSHO ones are bigger, and also the ball stud is bigger. So I had to switch over to the bronze ball studs from Tamiya and then use a Tamiya end. Not a big deal, but just saying. You can't even see it on here because it's inside the wheel, so can't even notice that. Also, one of the metal rods for your steering linkage snapped. Metal. It snapped. When I went to feed it through the little plastic servo saver, And so I had to figure out where I can get one or how I can make my own. And luckily I had a Tamiya one that had one side that still had that little S curve to it. So I just cut it to the right length, and with some needle nose pliers and a little hammer and a vise, I was able to bend one as close as possible to make my own. I think it came out rather well, and well, works fine. And you don't even see it because, well, it's underneath here. So, and those were a couple little challenges that I faced. So now we're just up to cutting out the body and masking it up. As you can see, this body is ginormous. They don't really give you much of a protective film on here. It's not like actually molded to the body, the protective film. It's kind of just stuck on there. So I do want to wash the body and prep it right after I cut it and mask it. So I don't know if I'm going to use this blue protective film. I might just peel this off and just mask up the whole outside. I'm not sure. But yeah, this body is big. A lot bigger than the Tamiya ones. So whatever, still pretty cool. All right, so that's next. So I'm going to get this cut out and masked up, and then I will be right back. Well, here's the body all cut out, and the manual instructs you to cut out this whole area on both sides of the car and leave this flap right over here. And that's because this area is going to be replaced with ABS plastic for the side vents of the Ferrari Testarossa. Now this is going to have to be painted red to match the red body, and there are 2 screws that are going to be needed because this slips right into this square piece, this flap. Put that in there. Then you have a screw here and here. Now you got to make sure when you're reaming your holes that are very precise. You're working with 2 very small screws that hold this. So before I get this masked up and painted, I am going to fit this on here, ream the holes with the 2 screws, and make sure it fits perfectly, because they don't really give you a lot of room to work with over here as far as overlap. This is going to be painted black, and this is going to be painted red. And if this hangs down, you're going to see the red from underneath, and I don't want that. So I want to make sure it fits perfectly, and if this is hanging down beyond what is painted black over here, then I'm thinking I might have to sand this down just a little bit, just so it doesn't hang down below. Kind of like this, but that's a little extreme. All right, so I'm going to get these fitted on. Then, if everything goes smooth, get this masked up, and we're going to start a little painting. Now, just so you know, down here, like I said, it's going to be black, black in the front, black over here, and there are a few other pieces that have to be painted red and black as well. So there's actually quite a lot to do with this body. So I'm going to get started on that right now. So before we mask up the body, I just wanted to test fit the ABS plastic side vents. This side is good. The other side, not so good, as I trimmed up the body just a little too high, and so the side vent sticks out of the bottom. I'm going to use a Dremel to Dremel that away. But here is the body on the chassis. Test fit looks great. You notice that white clip in the front. We'll talk more about that in a second. But yes, those side vents I think are going to come out nice. Got to paint those up red just like the body. As far as that undermount clip, that white clip you see right there, that's a nice little feature. You got no posts that go through the hood of the car. That's just from underneath. Those are the rear spring-loaded clips. Just push down on the springs, flip the clips upward on both sides, and then the rear end of the body just slides right off the posts. Then you just pull out the body with that clip. It's a nice little feature. Not sure why the phasers of today, the KYOSHO phasers that they put out today, doesn't have something like this. But yes, those are those spring-loaded clips right there. You push down, pop the clip up, push down, pop the clip up, and the body just slides right off. Definitely a lot of real estate to cover with masking just to paint up the few little black areas, but this body is a stunner and it's going to look great, so it's well worth it. There it is. Some of the black done. Looking good so far. Now it's just to get the red on, back it with white, and then red again. And because there is no outside protective film, got to use a little Tamiya tape with some plastic wrap just to protect the outside. All right, the Ferrari Testarossa is all painted up and I'm super happy with how it came out. We went red, then we backed to it white to make it pop, and then another layer of red because I did not want to look into the car and see white. Next thing to do is to get this over to Fix It Phil, who's going to do the window frames in black for me with some stickering. Those stickers are not included with the original sticker sheet. As a matter of fact, the manual calls for the window frames to be painted black, and that's very tedious. So I just ended up masking it up and painting it all red. And like I said, Fix It Phil will use some stickers on here to do the window frames for me and then get it back to me. And then I'll decide if I want to tint the windows. I want to see how it looks first. And if I decide to tint the windows, no big deal. I just remask it up and use a little PS31, I think it is, smoke from Tamiya to smoke out the windows. Then we'll get some stickers on here and we'll get the rest of it put together. Speaking about the rest of it, here are the side vents all painted up. Got my windshield wipers right over here. The only thing you do not see over here is the rear ABS vent in the back, or the grill, I guess you could say. That's in my garage right now drying, so I just hit that with some gloss. And the side view mirrors as well. Those are painted and are drying in my garage. So it's coming along nicely and almost there. All right, so let's get this off to Fix It Phil and get it back and see what it looks like with that window trim. Oh boy, check this out. This is sick. I know I skipped ahead a little bit, but I went racing this morning and Fix It Phil gave me the Ferrari Testarossa body back with the window trim done. It looked so good. I couldn't wait to get home and come right down into the work area and finish putting the rest of the stickers on, decals, and all the ABS plastic pieces like the side vents, the side windows, the side mirrors, the windshield wipers on here. It took about an hour and a half to fit all that on here with the stickers and everything, but this came out awesome. Something I'm undecided about, to tint or not tint the windows. I don't know. I think it looks good either way, but let me know what you think. Should I tint the windows? Put a comment below. Tell me how you think this came out. I'm not going to say it's 100% done. I'm going to say it's about 95% of the way there. There's a couple little things I need to do, but I'm going to address that in the next video. Yes, there's going to be a follow-up video for the KYOSHO Ferrari Testarossa. I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges of painting and putting together a body like this, because I don't think many of you realize how difficult and challenging this is. Very much like the beginning of the video where I talked about some of the challenges I faced with the build of the chassis, I'm going to talk about the challenges of spraying up and detailing a body like this. And then of course get it out for a light run, and I mean a very light run because I do not want to risk damaging this, because this is a shelf queen. This is like the definition of a shelf queen right here. This might even be the pinnacle of my collection. This is one hot looking RC. I want to thank Keith again from RC Icons. Awesome. I'm sorry I'm trying to do a speedy end to this video because I like to keep my videos around 15 minutes, and I think I definitely went over 15 minutes, which is why I'm going to do a follow-up video talking about the body more and getting it out for a light run. But I'm going to leave you with a video montage of the Ferrari Testarossa, okay? So thank you so much for your support. I will see you all in my next video, and definitely keep an eye out for the running video of the Ferrari Testarossa.